Hello and welcome back, it's good to see you. Today we're talking Moon Knight Episode 2, Summon the Suit. This was a great episode from top to bottom. There's no backstory needed today, so let's just dive right in. You know what? I'm just going to say it. I think this might be one of my favourite episodes of any of the Disney Plus Marvel shows to date. I know there haven't been a whole load of them, but my point still stands. Every character gets some solid progression that helps set up the direction of the show. There were a couple of twists that I wasn't expecting, which was a nice surprise. The camera work was fantastic, and oh, those costumes! Mwah! This episode opens with the fallout of Moon Knight's bathroom brawl from last week, and we discover that the jackal that was chasing Stephen wasn't there. But it was? Sort of. This is what I was talking about last week, with us never really knowing what's real to Stephen and Mark. We later find out that only those in cahoots with the Egyptian gods can see these things, so they must be happening on some other plane of existence in our world, but not some other dimension or reality, as far as I know. Stephen is fired from his job and decides to hunt down Mark Spector's storage unit, where he has an encounter with both Mark and Khonshu, which we later see in this episode that Khonshu can communicate with Mark just fine, but he seems to love scaring the shit out of Stephen. Khonshu's kind of a dick. And this is one of those scenes where this episode really shines. Oscar Isaac is phenomenal when he's acting against himself. Everything from his voice to his body language to even the way his face rests is different when he's Stephen versus when he's Mark. It's just incredible to watch. Really impressive. This is where we get a real formal introduction to Mark, and we learn that he has his own issues that he's dealing with. He seems to be more accepting of the fact that he's not always in control, telling Stephen that he'll get used to it when Mark takes over after the jackal chase. He's almost reluctantly in this role, and I say almost because it seems like his choice is either serve Khonshu as his avatar, or be dead and have Khonshu use his wife as his avatar instead. Not much of a choice. Like I said, Khonshu's a dick.
You are worth protecting.
I'll do whatever it takes, then you let me go.
I know that you enjoy the work I have for you. We need each other.
We have a deal.
Let me remind you, should we part, you may not like my next candidate, near and dear as she is to you.
After stealing Mark's grab-and-go bag from the storage locker and being scared shitless by Khonshu, Stephen takes a nosedive right in front of none other than Mark's wife Layla. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this happenstance introduction. It's one of these too good to be true coincidences that just never really works for me. I think it would have been better for Layla to show up at Stephen's apartment, but I guess we had that happen later in the episode with the detectives doing that. It's not that big of a deal. This also leads in nicely to my main problem with the episode. Stephen keeps dancing around the truth instead of just telling Layla, and I know it's to help build tension in the scene. This is just another me thing, but you could rewrite the scene to have him tell the truth to her and the tension comes from his desperation and confusion in trying to do so. Basically taking a different route to arrive at the same destination. Ethan Hawke once again kills it as Arthur Harrow, where we learn in this episode that he actually used to be Khonshu's avatar, which was an awesome surprise and added a whole new layer to Arthur, as he seemed to know what Khonshu was saying despite not being able to see him any longer.
I only punish those who have already done harm. I am real justice.
What's he saying now? I am real justice. Can you hear him? Not anymore. I was his former avatar.
Two interesting things that Arthur brings up in this episode, the first being Amit'S plan. To rid the world of evil before evil can strike, which, in broad strokes, is almost identical to Hydra's Project Insight plan from Captain America the Winter Soldier, which actually came out almost 8 years ago to the day. I wonder if it'll ever be revealed that someone in Hydra had a connection to Amit. The second thing is that Arthur's staff contains a fraction of Amit's power, which is what he uses to summon the semi-invisible jackals. This is similar to in Doctor Strange, where they have weapons imbued with the power of powerful beings, like the Staff of the Living Tribunal or the Vaulting Boots of Valtor. I can't say that and not use that voice. It just, the Vaulting Boots of Valtor. That's not as cool. The last we see of Arthur in this episode is when he kills the poor soul who found the Scarab Compass without judging him first, but doesn't align with Amit's plan. So he's kind of gone into business for himself here. I wonder if this is how he screwed up his relationship with Khonshu previously. One detail that I love about Arthur in this episode is that with every single footstep, you can hear the rattling of the broken glass in his sandals. This is one of these things that could have been left out by the sound design team, but they decided to include it, and I'm really thankful that they did. We get introduced to Mr. Knight in this episode, as do Stephen and Mark from the sounds of things. As Stephen's plummeting to the ground, he calls out for a suit and lands in a suit. This interpretation of Mr. Knight strays far from the suave detective personality in the comics, but this also appears to be the first time he has ever appeared, judging by Mark's reaction to the suit.
Oi, Stephen, what the hell are we wearing? Don't know. She said I needed a suit. Yeah, the ceremonial armor from Concha's temple, not Psycho Colonel Sanders. Well, I don't know how any of this shit works, man.
So it's possible we'll see Stephen gain some confidence with his Mr. Knight persona and become more comic accurate as the show goes on, or maybe further down the line. Or maybe not, because like I said last week, they were very specific about wanting to take this show in their own direction. So we'll have to wait and see. I also like that Mr. Knight is Stephen's suited up persona and Moon Knight is Mark's, versus them being 4 different personalities, because that would be a lot to juggle. The fight between Mr. Knight and the Jackal was really cool. Not only was keeping the Jackal invisible really good for the visual effects budget, but it also added a really cool dynamic to the fight. I love how goofy Stephen was as well as he started to gain some confidence. He's such an adorable wee dork. And then we finally get a proper look at Moon Knight, and what a costume! Both of those suits. Hats off to the costume department, because they're both fantastic. They're a visual feast, there's just so much detail in each of them. One thing I noticed though is that when Moon Knight pulls one of his crescent throwing dart things out of his chest piece, I thought it was a CG blunder at first because they never run out. But it turns out he just has an unlimited supply of them, because I guess the suit comes from nowhere, so it makes sense. The camera work in this chase scene, the whole episode really was just great. I am loving the use of reflections throughout the show, and some of the shots they use are just gorgeous. I'm really loving the overall look of this show. It's just so much more visually interesting and stimulating than a lot of the other Marvel stuff we usually get. Overall, a great second episode. I actually feel like they could have released episodes 1 and 2 together as a 2-parter, because they kind of have their own story arc contained within them. I hope they're able to continue this momentum for the remainder of the episodes. They've got something really special on their hands if they do. What did you think of the episode? Leave a comment and let me know. I love discussing this stuff. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.